Hello all, Matt Ross from Simple Strength Training here again. How yous all going? This is going to be my week 4 diary. In here is going to be just a little bit about my training week this week. I'll look at my day 2 training, which will be a lower body leg day predominantly. Also talk a bit about how you go about planning your list for a powerlifting meet and what I'm looking at doing with the 2 comps that I'm doing. But before we get into that, a bit of housekeeping. If you like anything you hear today, please like down the bottom there, share with your friends, and also feel free to comment. I'm always happy to see some comments down the bottom. I'm also a coach. If you want to contact me regarding any training in that, contact me through my socials down the bottom in the info area. You can message me through here as well if you like. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you have any questions in regards to diet or training, I'll answer them if I actually can. If I can't, I'll find the answer. And if I can't find an answer that's I reckon is suitable for you, I'll point you in the direction of someone that will definitely be able to help you. Alrighty, let's have a look at my week that was. So the week that was this week's training, still pretty much the same as the last few weeks. Moving along quite nicely. I'm hitting my numbers. Probably the biggest thing I'm trying to do is not overdo it. Some of the lifts are moving a little bit easier than I thought they would be, and trying not to get too much accumulated stress over these few weeks, because I'm trying to avoid a deload if I can. My bench and that is still moving quite well, and I always feel like I can probably push another 1 or 2 reps out, which is good, and that's what you want when you're doing this prep work. But you've got to be careful not to overdo it during that time. Otherwise, the accumulated stress will take its toll and cause you to peak and tire out and fatigue out a bit early. In saying that, though, I hit a new 3-rep PB in my squat this week, so that was pretty good. It was 162 kilos for 3 for me. That's a new rep PB. Like I said, I've only been powerlifting for a little while. I'm still on my first year of that, and this will be my first 2 official comps, so that's not a bad effort for me. Also, this week I've implemented some of the exercises all of the exercises that Fuzzy gave me, not some of them, all of them. That's 4 of them. That's a exercise for my middle and upper back, my rotator cuffs, some bit of hip hinge work to help even out some, what would you say, imbalances in my hips there. I've got a bit of a weak hip on the right side, so we're doing some work there. So that's all moving along pretty good. I haven't really got anything too much to say, except my deadlifts are moving a lot better than I thought they would. Everything's moving along really, really well. I'm very happy with how it's going. With that, we'll have a bit more of a look at my day 2 training. So my day 2 training starts with just a bit of a warm-up, because it's normally early in the morning. I hop on the treadmill and just generally walk for about 5 minutes. Then I do some warm-ups with my shoulders, just to get my shoulders moving and that sort of thing. I've also got some warm-up exercises that Fuzzy gave me to help with my hips and stuff. So I do them and then get into my squats. I generally work up to a heavy set, which is my heavy comp squat. It is at the moment, this week was a heavy set of 3 at 162 kilograms, which is a rep PB for me on that one. The first 2 moved okay and felt like pretty good, so I did a third. If the effort level on them was a bit higher, felt a lot more than what it was, I wouldn't have done the third one. So once again, I just making sure I don't overtrain or accumulate too much fatigue. I know that seems a bit opposite to what I was saying in doing an extra rep, but it felt like it was moving very well and very easy, and it didn't stress me a great deal as far as how it felt went. So I hit the third one, which is a good sign. After that, I move into some volume comp squats. This week they were 6 sets of 3, down from 5 sets of 5 last week. And they will be continuing along that line. They're at about 144 kilograms this week, just around about 10% less than what 10% of my 1RM less than my heavy squat was. And I do them with about a 3 to 4 minute rest in between them. I have a full rest between my heavy lift, so that's about 4 to 6 minutes. I have a nice decent rest in there, usually probably closer to 6, I'll say. I'd like to say it was closer to 4, but it's not. I always feel like I need an extra minute or two after a heavy squat. Doesn't matter how much of an effort it seemed like. It always seems to catch up with me afterwards a little bit. But so I have about a 4 to 6 minute rest after my single heavy set. Then my volume sets, I try to keep it about 3 to 4 minute rest in between them. Honestly, it's probably somewhere between 4 and 4.5 minutes. I set the alarm for 3 minutes and 30 seconds, the timer. Then by the time I get set back up underneath the bar, and then it's probably about somewhere between 4 and 4.5 minutes. And I do them for the 6 sets of 3. If I feel like I need it, I sometimes put my terribly useful block of wood. That is an idea or a thing I got from Starting Strength in regards to knee travel and stuff, just to help me with my technique a little bit. But I don't use it for any of my for my heavy set, my comp squat. Alrighty, once I get through them, by then I'm starting to feel it, because they're always fun, volume sets with shorter rest intervals. I move into some less lower back fatiguing leg work. In my first prep, that was front squats. I was doing it in this position. Now I'm trying out some hip belt squats to see how they go. I just basically, for that, put down 2 Bessa bricks. I have an old lifting belt that I just tie around my waist. I've got a big carabiner shackle that I put on the belt. I hang a chain off that, and I hang that through the weights, hang them between the legs. You'll see them in the video here. And do 3 sets of them at somewhere between a 5 to 8 rep range. I basically just work them up as sets across like you would normally with anything else, trying to keep them in that strength area. Probably in the next few weeks, I'll probably start dropping those sets back a little bit to sets of 2 to help keep the fatigue down. But at the moment, I'm just using them to bolster my normal training and just keep a bit more volume in there for my leg and quad work. After my hip belt squats, I move into some halting deadlifts. These are done as sets across, and sets of, up until now, they were done in sets of 8. Sets of 8 because I was stopping just above my knee and practicing that new technique that I was suggested to help move a bit more weight from, once again, Fuzzy. Thank you. But now I've changed that to going through the full deadlift motion, all the way up and all the way down, with the difference being is I pause just below the knee on the way up and pause just below the knee again on the way down, controlling the weight all the way down, Ed Cohen style. I reset at the bottom like you do with like you would do normally, but I control the eccentric part of that. Because I've changed it to sets of 6. The weight's moved up a little bit, about 2.5 kilos from what it was. And yeah, I do them for sets of 6 across with about a 3 minute rest in between them. Once again, there I set my timer for about 2.5 minutes. And by the time I get set up on the weight and everything, it's been about 3 minutes. So that works out pretty good. After that, I do some barbell bicep curls. These are done sets across in a rep pause style. And what I mean by that is I do it for 3 sets. The first set, I'm looking for a set of 12 as a progression set. Once I hit 12 reps, I put the weight up. But before that, I do the set and whatever I max out at. If I happen to finish at 10 or 11, then in my second set, after a 2 minute rest, I do reps till I fail it. If that's at 9 reps, I'll put the bar down, rest for 5 to 10 seconds, then do the last rep to get my 10. And then in the third set, after a 2 minute rest, if I only get say 7 reps, I'll put the bar down, rest for 5 to 10 seconds, do another 1 or 2 sets or 3 sets if I can get them out up to whatever I failed at in my first set. If I happen to get 13 or 14 out of my first set, then the next time I do them, if I get 12 or more in my first set, I progress the weight up for the next time I do it. And then whatever I fail at for that first set, if it is 13, once again, I have to do them as my total reps for each set. And then I put some calf work in at the end. At the moment, I've just doing standing calf raises on it with a barbell. I just chuck down a block of wood. I do them for sets of 15 to 20 with only 30-second rest in there, because after listening to a whole lot of podcasts, a whole lot of information, high rep with short rest seems to be the best way to build your calves. I just do them because I like doing a bit of calf work. And that's pretty much my training for day 2. If you have any questions about that, or you want to know a bit more about why I do some of those exercises, feel free to message and ask. But outside of that, we'll move on to how you go about picking your attempts for a powerlifting competition. At a powerlifting meet, your aim is to hit all 9 lifts. That's be successful in lifting 3 lifts in the squat, 3 lifts in the bench, and 3 lifts in the deadlift. And from that, you add up the highest weight you lifted in each of those 3 lifts, and that becomes your total. Now, I've watched a lot of podcasts and listened to a lot of podcasts and watched a few YouTube videos and all that sort of stuff on how you go about attempting your lifts and the process you go through when you're picking them. And the one thing that a lot of them said was that wished that they had got all 9 out of 9 lifts. They didn't feel like they failed by not getting all their lifts, but they felt a little bit deflated afterwards, that they would have probably felt a lot better if they had hit all their 9 lifts. So in saying that, how do you go about picking those lifts? Well, we'll start with your first lift. It's probably the best place to start. And because on the day you're probably going to be feeling a little bit nervous when you get out there underneath the bar, especially if you've never been up in front of people before, or a lot of different people, a lot of people you don't know, in that sort of arena where everyone's attention's focused on you. So you want something that you're going to feel comfortable lifting and feel confident that you're going to lift. Because once you get that first one out of the way, for me, it was a lot easier getting back out there for the second and the third lifts. And the rest of the day seemed to move along a lot better. But what you want to do is pick something that's comfortable for you to lift for the first time. And an easy way to do that is something you've lifted before, or a weight that you've lifted before, a weight that you lifted 3 times easily. And that will give you the best chance when you're out there for the first time to make sure you lift successfully for that very first lift. And you will feel 100% better when you push up and that bar moves up really fast and you go, yep, that felt great. Now, after that, you have to pick your next lifts. Normally what happens is you go out, you do your lift, then you've got about a minute to walk over to the official's desk and select your next lift. And so what do we do to choose that? What I would suggest once your first lift is done is for your squat and deadlift, for your second one, I would choose something in the area of 5 to 10% heavier than your first one. And your third one after that, if the second one is successful, about 2.5% more than your second lift. With your bench, I would make your second lift about 5% more than your first lift. And then for your third lift, 1 to 2.5% increase. Now, that's all good and well, and they're just good numbers to go by. But on the day, everything tends to be a bit different. So when you're out there, and you'll notice this when you go to a powerlifting meet, that the first time you're out there, you don't want to get too over enthusiastic, and it's easy to do because once you just get going, there's a lot of adrenaline begins to flow, and with the atmosphere and all the emotions running high, you can have a tendency to go, well, yeah, I'm all charged up. I want to go crazy. Your best bet is to sit down and have a plan. So plan your weights out using those percentages. So just as an example with numbers to make everything really, really easy, I'm going to start with 150 kilos as a first lift on a squat and then go from there. So if we used 150 kilos for our first lift on the squat, we lifted it 3 times and we did it pretty good. And we felt really, really confident underneath that, and it moved really, really well. So we put that up to about 165 kilograms, because that's 10% of 150 is 15. And if that moved good and comfortable, maybe a little bit harder because it's a big jump, you'd put it up your 2.5%. So you'd go up that 7.5 kilos, because that's 5% of 150 kilos. And that'll take you up to about 172.5 kilos. But on the day, all things are not always equal. Some days you'll wake up, you feel great when you jump out of bed. Other days you wake up and you feel like crap, to be quite honest. And the same thing can happen when you're lifting. You'll go to a lifting meet on the day, and where normally you got under the bar and you go out there, and that 150 kilos normally just flies up when you're in your gym at home or at the gym or at your gym that you go to, any commercial gym that you go to. But on the day of the meet, you got under it and you lifted it and it went, oh, that was really, really hard for today. I don't know why, but for some reason, I just don't feel that much stronger today. Well, you can adjust your weights then. So if on the day everything's feeling a little bit harder, bring it down a little bit. Knock it back to a 5% increase and then a 2.5% increase for it. Or knock it down to 7.5% increase. But lower that weight a little bit. What I wouldn't suggest you do on your first meet is, if everything's moving really well, going past those initial percentages that I suggested, simply because of what I said before, that everyone that I've a lot of the people that I've watched on YouTube and listened to on podcasts have suggested that they would have been much, much happier if they had got all 9 lifts at their first ever powerlifting meet that they went to. Like I said, they didn't feel like they failed or they felt like a failure or anything like that. They just felt a little bit deflated, and they would have probably enjoyed it a lot more if they had got all 9 lifts and had probably like that memory you get when you remember something about how good it was and how great the experience was. They reckon that memory would probably have been a lot better for them. Not that they don't have good memories or anything of those days, but they would have probably had that memory would have been that little bit better, have that little bit more shine to it or something like that. To basically recap that, for all 3 of your lifts, pick a weight that you've lifted before 3 times and a weight that you've probably lifted 3 times more than once. So something that you're going to feel totally confident with lifting on your first attempt. Then go up a little bit, 10% to 2 for your second one, 2.5% for your third one in the squat and the deadlift. For the bench press, 5% for the second one from your first one, and then 1 to 2.5% for your third one after your second. And don't get overexcited. Try and make sure you stick to your plan. Your plan is really important. If you're not feeling great on the day, adjust those weights down a little bit to suit how you're feeling, because you want to have a really, really enjoyable day for your first day of lifting, for your first powerlifting comp. And to do that and to make it that much bit better, I would suggest erring on the side of caution. The second one you go to, if you want to push it a little bit, because you will have been training for a little bit longer and have a bit more of a better idea of where you're at with your lifting and how you feel under heavy weights and things like that, you can push it a bit more than your second one. Don't let this first one be your only one. Get the most out of that day, so when you come back the second time, you can get a little bit more out of the next time you go, and maybe push yourself a bit harder. But aim to get all 9 on your first one so you can have one of the most enjoyable days you'll probably ever have. They're fun days, they're great days, you'll meet lots of nice people, and you'll enjoy. Alrighty, so once again, that's my diary for the week. Hopefully you've got something out of that that's useful for you. If you have, and you want to ask me any questions about it, or you have any questions for me about what my training's doing and what I'm doing, just hit me up in the comments below or through my socials. If you want any help with training or any advice or anything, once again, same thing, send me a message either here on YouTube or through my socials in the links below. Take me up on my coaching offer. Feel free to. I do in-person coaching at my gym at my home in Brahma Lodge in Adelaide, as well as online coaching. My prices are all on my website, or you can just message me to get an idea of what that's all about. And once again, if you just want some advice, just ask and I'll answer your questions as best as I can. Like I said earlier, if I can't help you, I'll try and find an answer for you. If I can't find the answer for you, I'll put you in contact with someone who can. Have fun staying strong for life, and I'll speak to you all again soon.